Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today where we'll discuss the 7 principles of highly intentional people, not rules to follow, reminders to return to every day. With a speaker today, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. People are still dialing in, but really glad to have Vaish back after his tour to East Coast. Welcome back, Vaish.
Thank you, JM. You're always so welcoming. I like your new backdrop too. Um, I see Subanga is here, so definitely we're going to have a robust conversation. Good to see you, Subanga. I saw Mohit's here. That's great. Joshua, thanks for listening in. Mayank, the great entrepreneur and person with many projects going on at the same time. Sanskriti's here. Thanks, Sanskruti. SG's here. T's here. And T for tremendous. Who else do we have? Yes. Well, Vasant. Thanks, Vasant, for joining. Topic today has to do with intention. It's one of those 10 words, TEN from Latin, which means to stretch. And whatever we stretch towards as conscious beings, we tend to engage with. When we engage with it, that becomes our absorbing reality. And in fact, the whole subject of Srimad Bhagavatam and our conundrum here in the material world, conundrum meaning the ways we get overwhelmed and confused, comes from this idea of abhinibheshata, which is very similar. Abhi is an intensifier. Avesha means to enter into something. It comes from the root word vish in Sanskrit. If you've ever heard the name Vishnu, Vishnu means the Supreme who's entered into everything, everywhere, at all times. And so, as little parts of Vishnu, we can also enter into anything. And we're never destroyed by anything, by any environment, whether it be earth, wind, or fire, but we do get enveloped by it. And so, what we're enveloped by will determine our reality or the state of our lives. Therefore, bhakti yoga, or yoga in general, is the intentionality behind what we enter into. Where would you all like to enter? Have you thought about it this morning? What are you about to enter? What is your the ideal environment that you'd like to enter into? That's the icebreaker for today. I hope it's not too intense for you all. But if you want to put in the chat box, oh, look,
Mayank says,
Mayank.
yeah,
Mayank's always on the ball. He's ready to go. He's got his fingers on the keyboard at all times, day or night. I know that from personal experience. What would you like to enter into?
Mayank says a place with no misery.
Okay, we have one vote out of 17. We don't have a quorum yet. Have you thought about entering into a particular environment? When you woke up this morning, did you think, I know where I want to go and how I'm going to enter that environment? You can answer that question. It's easier. It's a yes or no question. JM, I came in too hot. This is too intense for an afternoon show. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Everyone relax. Just relax. Don't put your fingers on the keyboard. Just take a minute. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a raga called Rag Darbari. Darbari, B-A-R-B-A-R-I. And it's a beautiful raga. It's meant to help balance all of your life affairs and get your mind in a constant state so that you feel relaxed. And so all I want you to do right now is just sit up a little straighter than you were a second ago. Hetty, welcome. Glad to have you here as usual. And
Battery 60%. Connected to.
if your battery's at 60%, we're going to try to get it up to 100 right now. I'm switching over my settings because settings matter. That's one of the, that could be one of the points of today's talk. What are your settings? Did you check your settings this morning? We're going to check our settings. I have a few that you can adjust. I'm adjusting my audio and I'm going here to original sound for musicians because I'm going to play you some music. So I want you to just close your eyes, sit up a little straighter in your word form, lengthen and loosen, and just be present and breathe naturally, normally. Put away anything that might call your attention to something else and just be okay for right now. You're always okay. We're always okay in the exact minute. It's just that we project into the future, grab onto the wheel and think that something's going to go wrong. It never will. We're always okay. This is called Rag Darbari. And there's a classically trained singer here. It's kind of interesting, sweet voice, I find. But what I'm after here is the raga. Raga, life doesn't make sense without music, and we really can't be balanced without the right kinds of music and sound vibration. So just listen carefully, and I'm going to play this for you. Breathe, relax, loosen, lengthen. Hey everyone, that was a little taste of Rag Darbari. And according to the science of music, the various ragas, scales, evoke a particular kind of emotion. Rag Darbari is known to balance. So now that we're feeling a little balanced, after hearing Rag Darbari and the mantra, which is transcendental mantra, takes us beyond the fetters of our attachment to the material world, to the material body, to the anxieties. As Mayank said, he wants to go to a place with no misery. And that's possible by purifying our consciousness and realizing that everything going on in this world is superfluous to our ultimate destination in life. Darbari, Darbari.
Yeah.
We'll be singing
Got
it more. I'm going to bring Rag Darbari to Silicon Valley and beyond if this is the last thing I do. Okay, so today I found some notes that I made for myself and I gave them to our team to make slides out of. And I think they were originally called Notes to Myself or something like that. And here it is, reincarnated as the 7 principles of highly intentional people. Sounds like I ripped off somebody else's title and inserted intentional. Nonetheless, here it goes. Because these are principles that are commonsensical, that I practice myself. And so these are reminders to myself, and they form a backdrop for sadhana. Success sadhana means how to align ourselves with our original divine source and feel happiness and balance in our lives. So here we go, JM. The first principle is to learn to listen. How should we listen? With rapt attention. This word rapt means seized, that something grabs us. One problem with consciousness in applying ourselves is we may be in 2 places at once. We may be engaged in an important conversation or listening to something that's vital, and we may be pointing our attentions in another direction. And this practice is to apply your attention fully to the topic at hand, giving full, fascinated focus to the topic at hand changes your relationship with the one who's speaking, the book you're reading, the author who's trying to express him or herself. Or perhaps it's a subject in nature. We may take for granted a flower or a bug. The other day when I was in Mississippi, Mississippi, I was on a hike and I brought home a hitchhiker, a tiny little bug, beautiful bug. Somebody told me it was a stink bug, but I sat down in my room and I saw that he had grabbed on. And so I gently brought him on a handkerchief to the outside to put him on a leaf because he looked more like he belonged on a leaf than he did on a bedspread somewhere. And I took the time to talk to him a little bit and I chanted some mantras to him. And I was fascinated by his eyes. They were tiny, tinier than the tip of a pin, and had a green body that flared out. He looked like a tiny little leaf and delicate legs. And then I noticed that he had wings. He fluttered a couple of times that attached to the back of his frame. And as I watched and I looked, I gained a kind of perspective that I hadn't had a moment before that, which was an appreciation of the design of the universe. It's called the cosmos. Cosmos means a designed environment. It's it's the opposite of chaos, which means there's no rhyme or reason to anything. And I was thinking, what would it take to engineer a pair of eyes like that? The tip of the pin, not the head of the pin, the tip of the pin. That's how small his eyes were. And they were slightly detached from his body. And he looked at me. I had a moment of communion with that little stink bug. I don't know how conscious he was of me, but he was conscious of me. I was conscious of him. And there was communion there. And I was, for a moment, carried away into the wonders of this universe, the intelligence behind the universe. And I felt in that moment, seeing that beautiful green color, that I was extremely present. As she's got some on bugs, JM.
Yeah, SG says, I take bugs, ants, spiders in my home and leave them outside. My kids used to laugh at me, but now they learned how to trap bugs in a cup instead of squashing and they wait for me to take them out.
That's nice. And now next time, just chant to him a little bit, because bugs are spiritual beings also. And that spiritual consciousness behind the bug's body can pick up on the vibration. This is a program about bugs, everybody. Okay, so wrapped means seized. Attention is where everything begins. It's our asset. May I go out on a limb and say it's our main asset, or even further to the tip of the limb, it's our only asset. We get to choose where to place our attention. And attention management is what determines the direction of our life. In fact, a student of mine made me a beautiful sign for my birthday, and I have it hanging outside my office here on the wall. And it says, where attention goes, energy flows. It's something I come back to again and again. And it's a great reminder every time I walk in my room, is where attention goes, energy flows. So that's why we say here, attention is where everything begins. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a beautiful verse in which Krishna says, Yanti, you can go certain places. How do you do it? You place your attention there. And we're free to move about the universe. There's destinations beyond the universe. Can you go there? Yes. How do you do it? You move your attention in that direction. How do you know about it? Well, are there are there are channels through which information comes about other universes, other planets. In fact, the first book my teacher wrote before he came to America is called Easy Journey to Other Planets. That caught my attention. I was in high school and I thought, that's a good idea. I'd like to take an easy journey to another planet. It's not fantastical, it's reality. We move here, there, and everywhere because of our attention. So, this is a practice, listening with rapt attention. As homework, if I may be so bold, try noticing how you attend to a subject matter. Notice, for instance, every night my wife and I get together to read. We read out loud, listen to one another reading. Find it very bonding kind of practice and edifying, especially at the end of the day. And I notice that there are different modes I can listen in as she's reading. I can drift off to other subjects and then I'll have to go back and say, what did you just read? Can you read that again? Or I can lean in. Lean in. And there's a term for this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, there's a conversation that takes place between Vidura and Krishna. And Vidura has put his left elbow on his right knee. If I'm doing it right, you can see me here. And he's leaning in like this to here. And you may have heard of the Upanishads. These are the ancient wisdom literatures, a term I use all the time, which I basically just made up, about that talk about the self. Who are we? Where did we come from? What's our destination? What does the word mean, Upanishad? Upa means near. Anishad, shad means to sit. So it means to sit near, and the idea is get in there, lean in really close and listen. Tune out everything else that's unimportant and attend to the matter at hand. This practice is a defining practice throughout the day. If you become aware of the level at which you're tuned in to the subject at hand, you'll change your relationship with that subject. Okay, JM, let's see. Maybe the raga stimulated us and we can have more sharing. Sharing means caring, according to the Salvation Army. So let's hear if you have any reflections so far about listening. Does it sound banal to you? Does it sound commonplace? You've already got this, or is it something that can be improved? Or do you have your own experience about listening, non-listening, half listening, and how it changes your relationship? What if you have somebody who's really important to you in your life and you try this experiment that the next time you encounter this other person that you consider to be one of your most precious associates, try tuning in 100% instead of 98%. What do you think would the difference would be? Okay, our phone lines are open. Our operators are standing by to take your calls.
Nirali says, half listening and not focused is what I notice makes me disappointed.
Disappointed. Let's see what that means. Disappoint. Disappoint means fail to fulfill the hopes or expectations of someone. Comes from Middle English in the sense of to deprive of a position, so prevent hopes from being realized. That's interesting. I mean, think about it on an existential level, based on what I was saying about our attention is most important. Rakesh, good to see you. Last time I saw you was in Louisiana.
Thank you so much. You remember Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Um, I just had a question that when I do my daily hearing of Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, I I'm usually multitasking. Either I'm driving or I'm cooking. Is that recommended, or would you recommend sitting down with a notebook and taking notes? Um, so what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I do have a motto, which I've put into an acronym, which I put on a hat. In fact, wherever I go, I carry my acronym with me. It says KTTVG. Am I close enough? JM, can you read it?
Yes.
Yes, it's very clear.
It means keep the transcendental vibration going. So I recommend that you engineer your soundtrack in your life. I could say when we built our center, our spiritual center here in ISKCON Silicon Valley, I had a few things to do with the reconstruction of the building. And one of them was that it would be equipped for sound in every room, and that includes in the restrooms. And I remember on the first day of our opening, there was a VIP here who went to use the loo, as they say in UK, and came out saying, "Hey, I could even hear the lecture in there." And so I recommend you do that in your home, in your car. And there are alternatives, but they're not so great. Pick the topmost sound vibration that you can surround yourself with in all circumstances and keep it going. There's a lot to be said for very deep learning. In fact, I was studying the subject the other day because I was listening to a course from Princeton University about learning. And one of the topics was about absorption in the subject matter. And there are ways in which nowadays we can get little sound bites from apps, and you kind of get a superficial philosophical standing from that. It's a little bit eclectic, maybe. But there's a way that teacher was talking about how if you go into a close reading of something and you take your time to look at every sentence, look up words, don't think you know, don't take for granted that you know what it's talking about. Try to get as much context as possible. That's another kind. So there's a spectrum for listening. But I do it all the time in my car. I have a 2004 Toyota Highlander. I love that car, partly because it was paid for the day I got it. And the second reason I like it, I didn't get it in 2004. It was a used car. But the other reason I like it is because it has buckle your safety belts for this one. It has a tape player in it and a CD player. So I have tapes, boxes full of them because I've lived long, and they're, and I listen to them, and I also listen to CDs that are around, and so I look forward to getting in the car and hearing as I'm driving. Of course, you have to also pay attention to the road. But yes, so the answer I could have just said is yes. What else? Any other thoughts? Jam, there's more on the board.
Yeah, there are a couple on the board. One from HA uh, saying, love your story of read aloud. I've always loved it, but never thought it this way in respect of attention. Thank you. Will adopt starting tonight with my kids.
A great idea. My father used to read to my brother and me, and it's foundational. Just those times of hearing. Yeah. What else?
Mohit says, I listen to ragas while playing basketball and gymming. Keeps me more focused and consistent.
Yep. That's trainers everywhere talk about the importance of having music going. Although, yes, Shubhanga's here. Go for it, Shubhanga.
Hello, Prabhuji. Thank you. It's nice to see you
You
and
too.
listen to you. I had a question about listening. Um, so, from my experience, uh, most of what I'm listening from the outside world is not centered around what I'm looking for. So, or it's more transactional or oriented towards things that are not what I'm trying to seek. So, when I sit in my meditation and I try to listen to what am I trying to listen to? What should I be trying to listen to? Because my thoughts say a lot of things that are distracting me. I cannot ignore them, but they won't stop. When they do stop, the silence is absolutely beautiful and I'm listening to it. But is there something more?
Can you state your question in one sentence with no semicolons?
What is the ultimate thing to listen to?
Transcendental sound vibration is the most recommended. And the most recommended of transcendental sound vibration is the mantra, because a mantra has a mystical way of compressing all of the transcendental sound into one zip file. And you can open it by speaking it, listening to it. The mantra that's most recommended is called the Maha Mantra. You heard part of it when I just played that rendition from the Rag Darbari. So that's what's most recommended in the Bhakti Yoga literatures, is concentrate on mantra. And it's mentioned there that the mantra itself is not representative of something, it is something. So you're directly in contact with the spiritual realm by repeating the mantra. Okay, JM, what else?
Heidi, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your talk tonight. I'm thinking a lot about, well, because someone just mentioned meditation and then we're talking about attention. I guess it's a practice, right? Like I think because at first, for me at least, when I meditated, there were a lot of thoughts. And same thing with attention, I think, because it's TMI. I'm neurodivergent, and so it's attention is like it's hard. And I think what I've learned was it's like every single time you catch yourself, you kind of have to bring yourself back to the present moment. It's like, and I heard in the Yoga Sutras, they say it's like the mind is running and you're bringing it back. And so, kind of when I catch myself, yeah, where my mind is drifting, either in attention or in my meditation, um, I just have to bring it back, I guess. And then if you keep doing that over and over again, it seems to get easier. I think that's my personal thought.
Thanks, Hattie. That's very important. Like our Mayank is a yoga teacher, and maybe there's other yoga teachers here. I practice yoga myself, Iyengar style, and there's mountain pose. So whenever my teacher asks me to stand in mountain pose, and I stand in mountain pose. But then teacher says, oh no, not like that, a little more like this, adjust it. After a while, I start noticing year after year practicing mountain pose along with other asanas that my nervous system starts to adjust to it. So when I'm standing anywhere, waiting for somebody or listening to someone, my body starts to self-adjust to that asana, which is a standing asana. But it takes a long time, and I have to keep readjusting because the natural tendency of the mind, which is subtle, or the body, which is gross, is to fall into another default, slouching in the case of, pelvic tilt in another way. You have to continuously do it until you feel it's natural. And in the same way with mantra, as you just described, that's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Again and again, you have to practice bringing your mind back. And it becomes an interesting process, not a tedious one, if you're curious about it. This is one of our friends, David Cresswell, who we're in conversation with. He teaches meditation and mindfulness at Carnegie Mellon. And as he says, this is a constant practice, being curious about the fact that your mind goes away. Why does it go away? And what does it feel like to bring it back? And you can be absorbed in that process as you're talking about. So yes, I'm just concurring with what you said. Radhakripa.
Yeah. I just wanted to share that initially I thought maybe there are people born with this trait, right? He's more attentive and somebody's not. But now, luckily, I have witnessed there are, people who can give 100% of their attentions all the time to anybody whom they interact. So I feel like even understanding that this exists, it's a big hope for me that from where I'm not paying proper attention, I have seen even tiny attentions I pay or give when I'm conscious about it. The whole conversation, the whole atmosphere becomes very, very effective and powerful. So it's a long way to go, but I think I feel happy that at least if you are deliberately making attempt to be present during the interactions, the whole thing is beautiful. So thank you.
Thanks, Radhakripa. Just notice the phraseology, paying attention. You get what you pay for. So if you pay halfway, you're going to get a halfway in return. If you pay the full price, you could buy a knockoff phone or you can buy an iPhone. So what are you going to get? What you pay for. So pay attention. It's an investment. there's tons of stuff on the board.
Yeah, a few more are rolling in. One question is from Renuka. She's asking, is there anything we can do to sleep more peacefully without any thoughts or worrying about tomorrow?
Yeah, sleep. That's an interesting one. It reflects what we're doing in the daytime. It has a lot to do with the mode of nature our mind is in. Going back to the Bhagavad Gita, the modes of nature are ubiquitous. In fact, it's fabric that makes up the world. Everything comes from a amorphous substance called pradana. And when it manifests as the universe, it's a tapestry that has three qualities: sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva means clarity, rajas means activity, and tamas means inactivity. And there are other adjectives we could put to it. But the science of yoga in general, and bhakti also, is that when we practice habits which are sattvic, then naturally our minds will become more sattvic because they're our apparatus that we use to view the world. And so sleeping is a reflection of the mode of nature that we've cultivated throughout the day. So all the habits that we have can be incrementally amended to be in sattva. Now, of course, there's people take stimulants. Stimulants like caffeine, they put your mind in rajas. And there's a way in which, even if you want to sleep, the there's a chemical reaction. Adenosine is blocked, that makes you go to sleep. That's why people like to take it so that they can be active all day long in rajas. If you do things that are meditative, like yoga, asanas, your life airs, this is a whole nother subject matter, but I'll skip over the details right now. Your life airs get balanced. There's certain kinds of things you watch and listen. If you watch a violent movie before you go to sleep, your mind's going to be in rajas and tamas. If you gradually, and this is common knowledge, everybody nowadays has heard most of this. If you don't look at screens and you don't look at blue light before you go to sleep, and make sure you block out all the light, and have a ritual for winding down, go to sleep at the same time, your body works on circadian rhythms, then there's much likelier chance that you're going to sleep deeply. But we do reflect what we're doing throughout the daytime, so also be aware of the fact that it's a cumulative effect. Okay, Jam, we're going to have a program on sleep too, right? That's the primer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mike shared that what you previously told.
What?
Attention is like what you had previously told. Attention is like a muscle, so it can be trained and made stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And Sanskriti said, I usually play Prabhupada's Maha Mantra and set it for 15 minutes sleep timer while going to sleep.
Great.
Those are the ones on the board.
Okay, let's go back. There's a few more tips. The next one after rapt attention, Jam, is cultivate humility. Right? Yes. Humility isn't weakness, it's the soil everything good grows in. I'm going to tell you what humility means according to the dictionary. Of course, it comes from Latin. It's right there on the screen. Humus, which means ground, stay close to the earth. Like, don't imagine yourself to be something different from what you are. We're grounded in service. Service means I'm not the center. I'm serving a higher principle. This is the idea of humility. Stay close to the ground. What is the ground? It's our intrinsic nature, that we have two aspects. One is that we love. We have a tendency to love, have affection. Second one is that we want to serve. Service grows out of sense of gratitude. When you appreciate someone, you want to do something for him or her. So when we're grounded in these principles, that I'm an appreciator, and I like to do service for service. This is a way of taking ourselves out of the center. I want everyone to do everything for me, to notice me. In any conversation, I want to be the center. You can practice humility. This is something that one of the great teachers of Bhakti, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, said you should practice regularly, giving respect. Giving respect. And then the harder one is, don't demand respect in return. See how it feels. Grow a modest view of yourself. Don't try to be great. Just try to be a good servant and be satisfied with that. And it's related to ground. Agriculture means if you cultivate being grounded, being humble, being satisfied with appreciating the greatness in others, and learning how to augment that to serve, then it prepares you for crops. What does that mean? All kinds of learning. Inner happiness comes in from humility. I looked it up in my simple laptop dictionary. Humility, the quality of having a modest view of one's value or importance, comes from humble, having or showing a modest estimate of one's value or importance, not arrogant or self-important. Practice being humble. Is it possible? Have you ever thought of it as a practice? Have you ever tried it? For instance, here's homework. Next time you're in a conversation, we can come back into the Zoom just for a minute. Next time you're in conversation, notice if you have a tendency or not to bring the conversation back to yourself. Somebody says something that they did and say, I'm not advocating being boring or something like that, but I'll tell you a story in regard to that, a sociological study that was done. And just notice if somebody says something, you might have an urge to say, yeah, I did that too, or I did one better, or I know that, I already know that. Notice it if that's what you want to say. Okay, the experiment I promised you. Sociological experiment. I heard this years ago, so I can't give you the exact person's name who did the study, but he was in a study about humility and about how people interact. So what he did was, his sociological experiment was, he had an assistant, and wherever he'd go, he would start a conversation with the people he was sitting with on a bus, train, or airplane, who he'd be with for some time. And afterwards, he'd have his assistant ask the person if he could interview them about the conversation. And during the conversation, the researchist would make sure that he simply responded with appreciation to what the person was talking about in his own life. And he didn't bring up, he resisted the idea of, oh yeah, I did that too, or I already know that. In other words, he didn't talk about himself, he talked about the other person and kept the conversation going in that direction. The result, the person who interviewed the subject afterwards noted that they would say, well, I didn't exactly know who that person was, but I found him to be one of the most interesting people I've ever talked to. It's just an observation. Ego means sense of self. False ego means false sense of self, false sense of importance. My thing's more important than everybody else's. But homework, try a sociological experiment next time you're engaged with your interlocutor. Then try keeping the subject on the person and appreciating what the person's doing. Resist bringing up your own thing and see what happens with the conversation. It's just an awareness exercise. Jim, I'm going to do a couple more slides because I'm not sure if we're going to come back to these at some point. So I'll just put them all out there. Next one is remember what sustains everything. We are not the sole maintainers of outcomes. This I have grounded in a verse that comes from the Sri Ishopanishad, one of the ancient Upanishads. Is just remember there's an ultimate controller behind everything, and we're not it. I heard this dialogue with a very spiritual person. He was a priest, actually. And this person was asking a lot of questions. He just said at the end of the conversation, here's my conclusion. There is a God and I'm not him. And I always like that last phrase because we're not the supreme controller. I remember one time when I had a business and there was a shocking occurrence within the business that disturbed my mind. And I called my entrepreneurial mentor at that time and told him with great alarm in my voice of the situation. And he said, well, that just proves you're not the supreme controller. And I immediately felt grounded. I was like, yeah, I'm not in control. Just because something's not in my control doesn't mean it's out of control. So trust that what needs to be held will be held, especially if you're sincere and you're trying to do the right things. We have here maintain from Latin, manutenere. Manu's here today, so Manu, now you know. Manutenere means by hand. Practice letting go what is not yours to carry.
1,000 feet, turn right into.
Sorry, it's beyond my control. I got muted. I'm not the supreme controller. So what's out of your hands? If you can do a meditation, here's your homework, where you let go of every semblance of control and just realize you can't even stop your own breathing. It'd be artificial to do so. Like right now, if you try to stop breathing, you'll be forced to breathe. Similarly, your heart, it's going to go on. It's very difficult to stop the heart. All the phenomena that's around us is going on because of, wait for it, a higher power. So if you become aware of that and remember that there's a sustaining force in the universe and you're not it, it will give you a chance to stand back from that feeling of anxiety that I have to make everything work. It's already working. You just have to be in harmony with it. And that's what yoga means. Okay, Jam, let's keep going. Then we have, here's a fun one. Say an encouraging word to everyone you meet. Encourage comes from the word core, which means the heart. Everyone carries some sense of self-worth in their heart. Most people are suffering due to a sense of feeling insufficient in their lives. And if you go out of your way to catch people doing something right and you appreciate it, you can leave an indelible impression that will change their lives, and it reflects back on you. So a single word, if you have the impetus, you notice it and you say it, it'll encourage the person, and it also puts you in a position to notice how encouragement is like pouring water on a plant that's wilting, suddenly comes back up again. Wait, I just want to hear if anybody's tried that before. No, let's say if you'd like to try it. Think of somebody right now that you appreciate in your life and think of uh, a way that you could drop them an encouraging word, even if it was a few words, 2 or 3 words. Can you think of someone? When you're doing that, I'm going to close my window because somebody's building a house right next door to me.
I have a hard time sometimes doing that because I feel like I'm giving advice or I'm being wishful or I'm, hoping sometimes impossible or not impossible, but it's just wishful thinking, right? Like I'm like, oh, everything will be all right. Well, it's not all right. I sometimes feel loss of words, like um, I don't want to sound like, wishy-washy. And it's like it's not all right. I mean, I can't fix things, right? Like, but I can pray. That's all I can think of saying as encouragement.
But let me
Um,
change it to sincere encouragement. If you see somebody doing something that's got value and you appreciate it, and
I see.
say it.
Appreciate we can do, right? Okay.
Yeah, appreciate, encourage. Like if you see something anywhere, I noticed
Mhm.
some people I travel with, like my wife, she'll see somebody like a stranger see something doing, they go, "Oh, that's nice." And it's funny because all of a sudden they become like a friend or something.
Mhm.
And I think that's a kind of unique thing, just to see a stranger appreciate something and say, "I really like that shirt," or whatever. That
Mhm.
it changes the environment, and it has to do with the subject matter today, which is attention. When we notice things, if you bring it up, you're verbalizing it and it augments it. There's an old saying, whatever you appreciate appreciates. And Voltaire once said that if when you see a good quality in someone else and you note that good quality and you appreciate it, then it becomes your quality. In other words, it opens you to taking that quality into yourself. Anyway,
True.
I I recommend this as another homework. I'm giving a lot of homework today, but it's all easy stuff and it's fantastic. So try it out. If I do say so myself. Let's go to
Heidi has
next
her
one.
hand up.
Oh, Hetty, go ahead.
So I have another question. Sorry.
Yes.
Um, when I thought sometimes I was trying to empathize with people by telling them, "Oh, I've been through that too." Is that bad to do then? I guess. Or
Well, I read a book on counseling once,
uh,
and it said don't do that immediately because it's it may not completely apply. I know it's an urge I always have too. There's also in Stephen Covey's book when he talked about hearing people out, that generally one of the, which is a immediate reaction is, he gave the example, someone says, "Oh, I'm having trouble with my eyesight." And then you go like, "Well, here, just take my glasses." Because there's a way in which we just think, yeah, yeah, this fixed mine, so you fix yours. What you're saying is not exactly the same thing. Empathy and saying, I've been through this. I would just say, think about it carefully before you offer it, because it's a natural default to empathize in that way and say, yeah, I've been through that too. But just
or
make
like,
sure it really matches. Uh,
okay, that's helpful.
yeah, something like that. There's more to say about that. I can go back and research in that book exactly what it said, but I resonated with it at the time. And I'll try to say more about that later.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
Shubhanga,
Hello, Prabhuji. I had another question about surrender that you spoke about.
surrender.
Yes, surrender.
Okay.
So, if surrender was an action, what would it look like?
Well, there's two kinds. There's voluntary and involuntary. When you, if you've ever watched on television, one of the most watched programs is the high speed chase. Criminal robs a bank, jumps in the car, drives away. Police start following. The helicopters follow. They go for 3 hours following the person with the movie camera going down, crashing into sidewalks. They still go, sparks coming out. They get into a cul-de-sac. They jump out. They jump over the wall. Dog bites them. They get scratched by the barbed wire, and then they're surrounded by 40 police officers. And then the person puts his hand on the head on the ground and arms like that. And so not like that. The other is voluntary surrender, where you realize that by offering yourself in service to your higher power, then you're aligned. And surrender is mentioned as Sharanagati. It's a process of taking shelter of what's real. That's the real sense of it. And there are 6 elements to that. First is accepting whatever's favorable for the practice, for your spiritual practice. Second is to give up things that are unfavorable. I'm just going to stick with those 2 for now, for lack of time. But just imagine if something's favorable for your spiritual practice, it's recommended by spiritual authorities and say, this is really good for you, and you accept it. That's a kind of sharanagati or surrender. And if someone says, this is really bad for you, it's like you come from a doctor who says, don't eat this. And you say, okay, I won't eat it. That's also surrender. So there's a process. It's not amorphous. It's very systematic and clear. And it's a joyful process because nothing succeeds like success. When you're able to have self-mastery, then you're happy. And when you're able to discern what are the right things to do, the wrong things to do, and you're able to think about it deeply and then implement them in your life, what else do you need? You feel so satisfied that, wow, I have mastery over myself. What's torturous is that we're being constantly pushed by our senses, by our urges to do things that are not favorable. I didn't put my thumb up. That happens as a result of my screen having some kind of mystic potency. Okay, Jam, last slide, which is take care of your body. It's a miraculous machine gifted to us by nature. And drink plenty of clean water, eat balanced, sensible, whole foods, rest as much as required, not more nor less. Care for your body that carries you. There's a lot to be said about that. There's millions, literally, of books, videos, and everything. But find a way to take care of your body. It's really important. Giving attention. These are intentional activities to do every day. And the last one is do the best you can with what you've got. There may be a sense of perfectionism that I can't do it because I'm not good enough or because I don't have the resources, wrong environment. You can always do what you can with what you have right now. And that's the secret to success and progress in the practice of bhakti or any other discipline. Few points. You already have enough to begin. Anything. Bring your most excellent self means just try to do the best you can with the tiniest little thing that you have, with the thing that's in your hand right now, and don't wait for perfect conditions. I have a shirt I wear a lot. I got it, I think, in Mayapur. It said, the right time never comes. You got to do it now and do your best right now, which matches with that. And here it goes. Here's the list at the end. 7 principles of highly intentional purpose. They're actually just my prompt list that I follow. It says, listen with full attention, resist the pull of plateaus and comfort. I missed that one, JM. So consider that a bonus. Stay humble and grounded. Trust what sustains you. Give courage to others because people feel discouraged constantly by their own minds and the environment. So if you encourage them, you're doing a great service. Care for your body and do your best right now. Thanks, everybody, for joining in today. I hope that raga sticks with you. It's sticking with me. I can't get it out of my head. Ever since I had a conversation about that raga the other day, I started looking into it, playing it, and now it's making me feel really sublime wherever I go. So remember, life doesn't make sense without music. Invest in the raga and try these principles. And JM, let's say something to encourage one another before we go. What do you say? That way we finish one of our homework assignments. So there's a way that the yogis up in the Himalayas, when they come out of their caves and they see a fellow yogi, they put their arms up in the air as a gesture to put their heart forward. And they say Hari Bol, which means keep up the great work, keep the transcendental vibration going. Want to try it? I'm doing it.
Yes.
Hari Bol.
Haribol.
Thanks, everybody. Keep going.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.